Welcome back to Wisdom Rising. Today we are having our Whispers of Wisdom conversation. This week's topic is on starseeds and our cosmic origins, which I'm very excited about. But before we dive in, I have a few quick announcements to make. Be sure to check us out over on our Facebook group, Moon Rising Mystics, as well as all of those my favorite platforms out there. We have our YouTube channel with nearly 13,000 subscribers. Super excited for that. Thank you so much for listening over there. And we also have a Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to check out all of those places and spaces. And I might be coming to your town, so listen in. I'm doing some local events in Bozeman, Montana. I'm also going to be in Steamboat Springs coming up the first week of December. So if you have people in that area, if you're in that area and you want to connect with me, that is your time. I'm also going to be in Tucson, Arizona after Christmas through the 1st. And then I'm going to be heading over to Houston, Texas to do workshops from January 2nd through the 5th. So if you are like, oh my gosh, I would love to do in-person events, feel free to reach out to me. Let me know where you are in the world, where you would like me to be, if you have contacts with yoga studios and those types of things, especially if you're in a ski town. I'm going to be busy in a few of those this winter. So, I'm hoping to do workshops along the way. So today we're going to be talking about our divine origins to cosmic energy, our starseed origins. And I'm excited about this conversation. For a really long time, there's been topics that we have been interested in sharing with all of you, and yet it didn't work under the previous branding of Reiki Cafe University. And one of the reasons why we felt so strongly to move into this energy of Moon Rising Shamanic Institute is because it has a much wider availability to connect on so many different topics, and this being one of them. And I love that, even the Navajo, and there's so many other indigenous cultures that speak of the star nations, right? And so I would love to have that invitation to also have that conversation here of how we are connected to the star nations. Are we part of the star nations? And really diving into where our divine origins belong, and recognizing that it can be the earth and something else. So welcome everyone to our Whispers of Wisdom. I'm joined here with Shantel Ochoa, and we're ready to dive in. Thanks for joining with me, Shantel.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one today too, to see where we take this conversation and who we get to tap into and who is going to resonate with this conversation. I think this is, especially in our time now of a lot of people are coming to awareness that maybe they are not just an earthling, that we are from a different star system, planet. We have a soul family, a galactic family. So definitely excited to see what questions come through and who is resonating with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the conversation is to open your mind to the possibility, open your mind to that, maybe everything that we have been taught in our culture and society is something that we can question, that, like there's such a limited scope on what we're told in our lifetime of where we're from and how it looks and how it's quote unquote supposed to be. And my life has never fit in the box. It hasn't. It never has. It never will. And that's part of who I am. And I don't think I'm alone in that. And the more we connect with each other and saying, I'm not alone in this. There are other people out there like me. And I remember as a child sitting on the couch in my house that I grew up in, and crying and saying, I just want to go home. I just want to go home, and having no idea what the heck I was talking about. But I knew Earth wasn't it. Like I knew that my house, my home, it wasn't it. I wanted to go home, and I didn't know what I was talking about. And people in my life thought I was a little nutty because it didn't make sense that I was so homesick inside the house I was growing up in. And I want to invite anyone who's listening to recognize that's not uncommon. And I think that there was back in the 1990s and early 2000s, there was a lot of talk about indigo children and crystalline children and all these things. And I'm like, they were all the star seeds. So let's
100%.
right. So let's back up and go through a couple of these terminologies that we're using so that everyone who's listening can get on page with us. So Shantel, would you do that for us? Will you kick us off of like what is an indigo child, a crystalline child, a starseed, and we can have that conversation together of going, these are like some of these are like old school terms because no one knew what to call us back then,
Yeah.
and so it was very much like, well, let's just call them this. And then you kind of lean into it and be like, there's more to it than this book wrote about.
Yeah, definitely. So with the indigo and crystal children, we're coming in as very high, like psychic or aware children that are here to do work. We're here with mission. We're here with purpose. We come in from a different star seed, a different galactic star system within our solar system, right? So star seeds are people with souls of extra terrestrial origin. So that's pretty much what a soul seed is that we are coming from a different planet or system. And I do believe that a lid has been put on that. We have been suppressed from our origins, from where we're from. I believe I call it spiritual amnesia because that is what I feel that we come into. And a lot of that is because if we knew all of our past lives and how we've died and all the things, I think then that would cause a lot of we wouldn't be able to fulfill all of the missions that we have, right? There would kind of be like a block there. But what ends up happening, we come in from these different star seeds, and sometimes we have this remembering, like you're saying, Christine, like you're like, I want to go home. I remember as a child, I was calling messages downloads before it was even a download, before people were talking like that. And that happened to me throughout my whole life until I integrated it about not even that long ago, maybe 7 years ago, where I was able to say, I don't know who is visiting me, but I always felt like my experiences were being downloaded and I was receiving new information. And then at some point it was like it started to integrate and then this work started coming forward. And
Yeah.
so it was really interesting how that worked. But you might also be hearing these different star systems or these beings. There's the Palladians, the Arcturians, Sirian, Lemuria, the Lyrans, Orion. So these are all different beings and star systems, cultures, communities of beings out there that we can be attached to or from. Do you know where you feel like you're from?
Yeah, I do. And, I feel like you can be from numerous. Like, I definitely feel like a galactic traveler, right? And I choose Earth often. The last 10,000 years, I've predominantly been on Earth. I go, quote unquote, to my home as in between lifetimes, but it's really like I'm just visiting and then I come back here. So for myself, I feel like tens of thousand years ago, I was on a planet. And here, I feel like I should back up even. Back up. I very much have been putting the puzzle pieces together in my own starseed journey. And to the fact that it was probably about 10 years ago, I was working on a very spiritual man who was in the process of dying. And he was, seen as a guru and was very had such a big heart. And I was offering him Reiki on his deathbed, and light language started coming through. I had no idea what was coming out of my mouth. And yet it was. And I was like, well, whatever this is, I'm in Reiki. I'm going to flow with it. And I'm just going to let whatever spills forward to come out. And it really felt like the words, what the vibrations, they had a healing capacity. And I was just doing it kind of quietly under my breath because I didn't know what it was. And then, it was like, and I really feel it was because he had a starseed connection. Like he, in some capacity, was open to whatever this healing was, whether he was from the same planet or whatnot. And it's just been sprinkled throughout the last 10 years. And over the last maybe 5, it's gotten more and more potent. And, the people in my life, my previous husband, my children, like there's always been starseed connections and the people around and my immediate family. And and I thought it was just them for a long time. I'm like, oh, y'all are weird. And I'm just going to be the mom here and like hold space for you all. And that wasn't
It's
it.
really just me.
It's no, yeah, no. And I turned out to be like, no, I'm actually the main link. But I really, their stories made so much more sense to me. Like my son started talking about his past lives when he was 3 and 4 years old. That was like all he would talk about is trying to get back to the Blue Mountains, that he was making the starship, and he couldn't understand why his stepdad couldn't remember them building this spaceship together. Like that was like a common theme for like a full year of everything that came out of my son's mouth was about preparing for war and like all of these things. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Right. So it was very obvious in the beginning of my journey as remembering my starseed connections that the people in my life were also very connected to this. And so for overall, I feel like the pieces are coming closer and closer together. The more often I dive into deep work and do my shamanic journey work, the more I connect with these different astral planes, with these different entities from different cosmic origins. And it very much is like I now have like a mom on Octoria that I can go to and like just be with her. And I have friends there. But I don't think it was my home planet either, which is interesting. Like I feel like my quote unquote home planet was destroyed tens of thousands of years ago. And kind of like I'm watching the show Galactica, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't watch this because it brings up so much trauma. Like, I'm like, all right, deep dive into shadow work because I'm remembering like this is my story of like the home planet being destroyed and then you having to find new places to live. And so I kind of immigrated into Octorius. And I feel like I have a lot of connections there, but I also have these memories of being on Andromeda and on numerous other planets where I'm kind of the recruiter of these other highly evolved souls to come to Earth. Like I have been the traveler of like recruiting people to come to Earth, not only because I feel like the Earth's population is expanding so rapidly that the souls of Earth can't keep up. And so it's better to have these souls come from these cosmic origins versus having new souls come into Earth, because new souls can be kind of barbaric. They haven't done the learnings yet. Whereas if I can convince an Andromeda soul or a Palladian soul or whoever to come here to support the collective consciousness evolvement, it's much easier to work with like, let's raise the earth vibrational energy I'm a recruiter. And so I feel like I've been all over the cosmos. I really have.
And there's a lot with that, like going back to when I feel in 2012 is really when a lot of people started having this awakening. A
Yeah.
lot of shifts happened in 2012, and now we're on this timeline of like the last 10 to 12 years of really awakening to our origin, really awakening to our gifts, our clairs, our if you're a healer, not a healer, like are you the healer in your family? Are you a practitioner? However it is, because this is that time of lifting the veil and to lift the experience, but the vibration of our planet, because we are in this healing. We are expanding. We are doing this work right now. So I can see why, like, being able to go out there and you're like, come to Earth. We need help here on Earth because there's a lot that have been going through their reincarnation for thousands of years. And it's time for us to awaken on this planet. We're lifting, we're ascending, we're doing the work. And I think that's why we're seeing so many shifts on this planet right now. Is
Absolutely.
so the calling is coming forward for us. And so if you're feeling like, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm a starseed or not, I do have a few things. Like if you feel like you're here with mission, with purpose, if you feel like you're seeking freedom, a sense of freedom, or you're being homesick and you don't quite know what that is because you are home, you have your family, but there's this something else in you that calls for something bigger and different of that's not of this planet. You're possibly a starseed. If you're like you're a star watcher, a stargazer, you're into astrology, you're into all the different planets and everything that's going on. These are all purpose, symptoms or activations that could be happening within you, craving nature. Do you
Mhm.
feel like you're the one that's the oddball in your family, the black sheep of the family? So there's all these different ways of recognizing if you possibly are, but it's really connecting to the stars and the origin in which you are possibly from.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments if you're feeling like you have any of these, if you have heightened intuition, if you have heightened clairs, if you're very empathic, if you feel like you've had this great spiritual awakening. Let us know if there's any of those connect with you.
Yeah, I feel too that oftentimes in the beginning, the light language, the like autonomic writing of like symbols or um, messages that like you're like, I don't know where that came from. Um, I really drawn to certain specific star systems. Like I was really kind of obsessed with Orion star system, and it's got numerous galaxies just below the belt. Um, I think that's where Sirius A and Sirius B are. And you know, there's that piece of like I think there's a lot of earthlings, humans who are evolving very rapidly at the same time. So then it becomes like this, well, am I an evolving rapidly as a human, or is it like coming from a cosmic origin? Like, how can I tell? And I think it's just such a personal journey of like exploration because they can look very similar and there's nothing wrong with being human. I think that's the other thing. Like if you're human and you've been an earthling and you're super connected with the earth and you are on an earth's mission, and that's beautiful in and of itself. So I don't want to put starseeds necessarily on a pedestal. It's just a conversation that I'm really curious about because oftentimes when I have these conversations inside a closed container of our students, what I recognize is I will start talking about it, and everyone in the room is like, yep, yep, right. And we're doing it right now. I can watch the chat book. Yep, yes, 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 right. And this is where it kind of like for me, I understand that like I have spent thousands of years working in earth energy and I keep returning here to do this work, and in between I'm the recruiter, and then all of a sudden I have all of these students and all of these people in my community that are identifying as starseeds. As soon as I reveal that I am, then they are like, yep, me too, me too. I don't understand it, but me too. I'm on that journey. And I find it interesting that there's this 2012 connection because that's really when things really started heightening. Like the veil started getting thinner and it's thinner and thinner and thinner. And I feel like now it's even more predominant. Like I used to have to really concentrate and tune in to channel the language, and now it's so much easier. It's just second nature. And I'm curious about that word too, channeling, because ultimately I am a starseed. Like this is my language, my primary language, if you will. Whereas English is a secondary language. So when we say I'm channeling, there's part of it's like, yeah, there's sometimes I'm actually channeling an entity where their consciousness is melding in with mine and I'm bringing that information forward. And other times I'm just talking. I'm just talking in my home language. And I don't think people who are quote unquote offering light language are necessarily seeing the difference in that. Like I haven't heard that conversation. And there's sometimes I just want to go back to Arcturus and have a conversation with an old friend. And here I am talking in it. And it has nothing to do with channeling. Right. And I just
Yeah,
I,
yeah, I love that. Your primary language. And I think for a lot of people that are speaking in light language, they're not seeing that because the channeling is what a lot of people identify it as. And it's
yeah,
like, no, you might not be because channeling is you are speaking, so another entity is speaking through you for the message they have to input.
right.
Whereas you're talking about being able to just speak your language, like we do English or Spanish or whatever. Yeah, you're just speaking your galactic language, your home
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
And I think
And
that's a great conversation for people to have. Like, am I just speaking
Right?
my language?
Exactly. Like I feel like I see other people, doing quote unquote light language, and I'm like, but where are they from? Like, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, are they an earthling channeling, or are they Octorian channeling an Octorian, or are they Octorian just speaking Octorian? Like, I feel like I wish there was more distinction in the community. And I feel like I'm kind of the odd one out, like having the question out there. And at the same time, when I want to call in, like she almost feels like a deity from my original home planet. And she's the one who helped me get to Octorius and be safe and all of the things. And when I channel her, I feel her energy. Like I feel her presence, I feel her embodiment within me. And receiving new codes, the downloads, whatever it may be, it's coming from her.
Mhm.
And it's not me anymore. Right. So there's like that distinction that I get curious about when people are claiming light language. And I'm like, you totally can be, absolutely. And what if the hand gestures, the movements, the mudras, the language that's coming through, what if it was like something normal that we used to do, like choreographed hand movements and language, chants, prayers that we used to do together? Like I think totally outside the box and going, yeah, it could be, but what if? What if this was like the normal thing we used to do all the time?
And I can visualize that. I've seen myself like on my ship. I've been out in space and like through journey work, and they're like, you're not from here, you're from way out there. But I know that my mission is here now.
Yeah.
And I know I've been here for many lifetimes. I don't know how long, but I know I've been here. And
Yeah.
so it's very interesting because when I do get to go to like my spaceship or whatever you want to say, I know it has huge windows and it sees and oversees so much. And it's just like, it's beautiful. And we're beautiful. And so it's interesting because there is a physicalness to it, because we're not talking about being in our soul body, it's actually being in our galactic body, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's so many different ways that the body shows up. Because we have like our blue beings and we have lyrans that are lions, and there's, bird origins. And so there's so many different physical,
Representations.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That it's amazing. So it's like if you're even like tuning into what your power animal is, right? Absolutely could be a connection from what your space where you're from. And it's
Yeah.
just interesting to be able to take it all in and really think outside the box, and recognize that yeah, we probably have been lied to for our entire existence on this planet because those in power don't want us to know this.
And
And
remember,
we're not meant to remember it. Not here, and then not when we come in, when we choose to incarnate.
so here's the thing. What I think is going on there is that we have this um oh gosh, I just had it. It was like, there's a percentage in which if everyone was high vibe, we would
Hmm.
totally shift the whole planetary's vibration into light, into and if it goes too low, you're going to be in a place of war and despair and plagues and all of the things, right? And so it's like there's this zone where we're struggling in, where we're balancing between these two different options. And I feel like there's specific, like there's definitely um a play for control, that if we stay in fear, we're more easily to be controlled. And this is where, why it's been kind of difficult to bring up these conversations, because it's what the different entities that we've brought up so far, these different starseed origins, are all very high vibe, but they're not all like that. It's just like now all humans are all love and light and good, right? There are some people out there who want want evil to occur, right? And so we have this energy that kind of is like a shadow over Earth, that there's a reason why these other starseeds wants to come in to help support Earth, because it's got this shadow over it. It's got this negativity, this heavy energy, and we will destroy ourselves if we allow the shadow to continue to exist hovering over the Earth. And if we can wake up to our remembrance of who we are, if we can wake up to our empowerment, if we can see the shadow for what it is and rise above it, then it will disintegrate. It will release. And so part of this heaviness that we have on Earth, like I always say, I mean, you've heard me say this on other podcasts, is that, we don't come to Earth for vacation. Like this is not an easy planet to come to. And part of it is this heaviness and this overarching, veil, that amnesia, that don't remember. And part of it is so that our energies can be extracted for these not positive entities that are hovering around our Earth. Like, we're a beautiful blue floating planet that has an immense amount of energy. And when you look at the galactic system overall, we have a lot of energy. And so you have some extraterrestrials, if you will, that are more in the fourth dimensional plane that want to extract said energy, right? And that is easier to do if we are in fear.
Yes.
Right.
And that's why we speak so much about lifting our vibration and doing our healing work and all of that, so that we can get out of that lower vibration of energy, so it can't be extracted.
Right.
Because then if we are vibing too high, they're just going to bypass you as a human. They're like, oh, that one's not available. We need to keep searching for the one that is stuck in their low vibration, because they haven't done the healing, or they're not even aware. A lot of people don't even know that they're in a low vibration of energy, or that they are hovering in those lower emotions. And that's why we're always like, we need to heal the trauma. We need to focus on it, because then they will just bypass you and go to the next person. And so when you're talking about earlier, when you're saying, yes, if you are staying in that, it can bring in war, it can bring in all this stuff, but we create that within ourselves too, right? Because there are so many different layers on this planet, that if you can be in your own level of war with work, with
relationships, like all of it.
Relationship, all of it, right? And then you can be in this high vibe experience of, traveling and being in like loving relationship and non-toxic relationships and all of this. It really is our free will. And it comes back to being a sovereign being. When we are sovereign, that is our power. That is literally like our superpower of being a sovereign being, of being a healed being, and being like, no, I'm not available to any of that, because then you can truly speak your truth and in your power. And then they don't have the power and control over you.
Yes. So you want to know really the reason why we do what we do here at Moon Rising Shamanic Institute? It's this. We really want everyone to break out of the victimhood mode and into empowerment, so that you'll be less susceptible to the heaviness that this earth can resonate with. Right. Mm-hmm. And so if we can break ourselves out of it individually, collective consciousness will also rise, which will can transform our lives here, right? But it all starts with internal. We have to do the internal work first. And when we start doing the healing work, and then we're waking up into our Palladian galactic connections, or our Arcturians, or our Syrians, or whatever it is, when we say, you know what, you put this amnesia over me, but you know what, I got it. I remember now. And I feel like that amnesia has been slowly fading out. Like, I'll go do, and I think a lot of it is because of the shamanic journey work. Like, we train others at Moon Rising to shamanic journey, because once you can connect with your spirit guides, your power animals, guess what? You can go have a shamanic journey to your home planet. You can go have these connections. And I remember recently, I was at a chakra dance, and it can be a very shamanic experience for me, a very out of body. I oftentimes go home, and it's, once again, I'm not on plant medicine, but oftentimes plant medicine is also very helpful if done intentionally with this type of work. And I remember going and visiting basically an old boyfriend, if you will, on Octorius. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I left you. Like, I was trying to remember what our story was. I was like, do you, like, are you mad at me for leaving you? It's been a long time. And he's like, it's been 10,000 years and you have been on this planet for 2,400 lifetimes. So no, you're good. Like, it's been a long time, but I didn't know the timeline. Like, I didn't know if it was the last lifetime we were together or 10,000 years ago. Like, but all of those numbers and things keeps coming and getting put together where I'm like, okay, I'm understanding my story. And the more I understand my story, the more empowered I feel, because when I know my story, this is just like if you don't know your own genealogy, that can be an empowering experience. This can be an empowering experience where you're like, okay, I remember when I was on this planet, and I remember when I was on this planet, I remember what I was doing there. Like, my original home planet that was destroyed, it was so wet. It was so wet. It rained and rained. And I feel like we almost breathed through the rain, like we breathed through water. And, it was like the colors of your skin and how many finger pads you had, like all of that, those pieces are coming to me. And it's like, how we raise children is so drastically different than here on Earth. It was very much like, none of the children belong to one parent, right? They belong to everyone. And so there was very much this gathering of the children, or like taking care of everyone. It was so different than our little family units here on Earth, right? And your relationships would last thousands of years. Like, the timelines were different. Everything is so freaking short on this planet. Like, it's so hard. Like, man, they try to pack it all into one lifetime. Like, you're always in the thick of it. Like, you have to grow up and develop into an adult, and then you're trying to become independent, and then oh my goodness, now we're having kids, and then we're dealing with children, and then we're taking care of elderly parents, and then you're like, where did my life go? like you're always,
and the whole time we're like in an aging body to go from young to old in less than 100 years.
It's ridiculous.
And we're talking thousands of years in the whole like gist of it. Yeah, it's so crazy.
It's like this is just a blink of the eye and the cosmic understanding of our life, our soul life, that I oftentimes have to remember, like, it doesn't matter what I do today ultimately, because it's such a small snapshot of like the big picture of like my impact on the universe. And I feel like I keep choosing Earth. Like, I will have these experiences where I'm out in the galactics, like I'm way out in the cosmos. I'm astral traveling, if you will. And I'm looking down at the Earth, and I'm just like, I love her. I love her. I love her. I love all of the ups and downs, all of the emotional roller coasters, all of the struggles that we have here. I love it. And when I'm in the thick of it, like when I'm actually in the experience of having a hard time, I'm like, I just want to go home, right? Like, there's that piece of remembering why I keep choosing Earth again and again and again and again, is for this awakening process. I have had so many lifetimes where I am like the shaman or the healer or to someone in power. Like, so many of my lifetimes I've been in that role. And they kill me again and again and again. And I'm just glad that I don't have to like get killed this lifetime as a witch. I did that a lot. So, and because I keep pushing the envelope, I keep pushing the comfort zone. And here I am once again, even today on this podcast, feeling like my job is to push the comfort zone, and taking the last 42 years to get comfortable with, like, can I talk about this? Can I share about this? Who's going to judge me if I do this? What if I have another witch wound show up where people attack me now, energetically, physically, emotionally, whatever it is? And to say, you know what? That's why I'm here on earth. This is part of my mission and purpose, is to continuously push the comfort zone and to help people wake up to who they truly are. So I know that as long as we continue our personal healing practice, like I was sure to do my personal self-care practice this morning to raise my vibrational energy so that anything that would have come up today that might have made me uncomfortable, I could rise above it. Because it's just like that. Like I can do it individually, but guess what? If we can do it collectively, we can save the planet. Like that's what it feels like. We're at this crucial juncture of like we're destroying the planet. And it's amazing here. And we all have the work that we can do. And it's called personal practice. It's called self healing. It's called go into the shadow, find the places and spaces within yourself that are causing this low vibration, this victimhood mentality, and let's break out of it because we have more power than they're letting us on to know. Our government, our societal, our system, they don't want to let us know how much impact and power we truly have. And if we can all wake up, like I would say right now, the planet is about 90 to 95% asleep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's
maybe a little less, but yes, it's a very
right.
small amount of people who are actually awakened to all of this.
Right. Well, and notice that this is really interesting to me. Okay. I'm just like, notice that our subconscious brain runs on 90 to 95% autopilot. The world right now is running on 90 to 95% autopilot. And there's only about 5% of us who are actively, consciously awake. And so I think that correlation right there is a huge aha moment for myself of going, this is why I do what I do. If we can all wake up to recognizing the underlying patterns that are going on in our system that are running on autopilot, that we can make the shift. And so it's like, yes, I've got big dreams and big goals for Moon Rising and Shamanic Institute because I feel like you can't escape our programs without waking up. Like you're gonna go in the thick of it. You're going to have an awakening experience and you're gonna embrace new patterns, beliefs, practices that are going to help you stay in that high vibe energy. It might not be just in the first 4 months, but you're going to get a lot done in that first 4 months. Maybe it's in the second 4-month program or the third 4-month program where you're really actively, energetically embracing your full authentic truth and power. And guess what? The more we do that, I see that those student graduates go out and then they go wake up others. That's their job. Whether they're doing it through shamanic Reiki sessions or workshops or guided meditations or whatever they're doing to shift the energy of the world, like it fills me up knowing that I have students that are doing the work and that they are helping others do the work and that this is just a trickle down effect of the work that we can do. So yes, this year we might have only had maybe 50 students total about that. I'm not even sure. Maybe a little more, maybe like 60 students total. What if next year was 100? Or what if next year was 200? Or the year after, in 5 years, we have 500 students. What impact are we going to make in the world's level of consciousness if we have all 500 of those students waking up 20 people each?
Yeah.
Right.
And even looking at the 50 that go out and do 20 people on their side, and really it is so important to recognize like in ourselves as we're going out as practitioners, as students, as, waking up and being the beings of the light, is that we are planting these major seeds in people's lives, even if they're not awakened in that instant because you said something. Because a lot of times when we go out and we speak to people who aren't awakened, they just look at us like we're crazy. Like, what are you talking about? Every now and then you get that curious person that is like, I want to hear what you got to say, right?
Yeah.
Because there's something in them that it ignites. and then they are in feeling in alignment to your conversation. But it really is, it's planting those seeds, and it starts with us. So I really love that part of it, is recognizing that it starts with us. And Sarah's like, ooh, goosebumps. Yes. Because when we're doing our work and we go out and we shine our light and our knowledge and wisdom, then we get to really connect with so many other people that they're like, okay, where are you coming from? And what are you learning? And teach me what you know. And that's where moon rising really steps in, because it's like, well, come over here because we have this beautiful platform that we can educate and teach and guide you, but then you learn to be self-sourced in it. And that is the part that is so important in knowing, is like, we're not here to lead you through your entire journey forever. It's to teach you how to do it for yourself, and then you go do it. And
I
then
can't,
all
yeah.
of these messages and downloads can come for you.
I can't emphasize that enough. Like, I feel like I don't want to be anyone's guru. That is
No.
not what we're doing. I want you to be your own guru. I want you to see your own light. Want you to see your own power. Want you to see your own strength. And when you can step into that, damn, it's like, here's the shift. Here's the shift in your life. Yeah, people come into our programs and they get divorced, or they put boundaries in place in their families. They'll initiate quitting their job, whatever it may be. Like, big things happen because they're stepping into their full authenticity, and then they're going to attract and vibrate more like-minded individuals who are also high vibe. And so there is this transitionary zone that you have to kind of go through. And it's amazing to witness. Like, I'm always so in awe of the practice and figuring out what works for different individuals, because that's the other thing. This can't be a blanket one size fits all script. It doesn't work that way. And I see so many programs out there going, follow my 5-step program. And I'm like, bullshit. Like, I'm sorry.
I call bullshit.
I'm just calling bullshit, because it doesn't, everyone's different. And if we break it down, like, are you an earthling? Are you a Pleiadian? Are you like, what star seed are you like connected from? Like, you might have different capacity than others. I had a student reach out who had gone through the whole year program. She's an advanced student graduate. And she was like, Christine, how do you see things in the spirit world? Like, what are your spiritual gifts? And she had been with me for a year, over a year. And she's still like, can I ask you that? And I have to remind her, I'm like, how I see is going to be different than you see. I don't see anything in color. I don't see things like a movie. I have to put all of the pieces together. So yes, I've got a little bit of clairvoyance. I got a little bit of clairaudience. I got a lot of clairsentience. And when I mix it together, I can feel where the presence in the room, and I can feel what their personality is like. And I can see glimpses of them, but it's not going to be in color, and it's not going to be crystal clear. It's going to be out of focus. And I may or may not hear a message from them. And sometimes it will. And sometimes it will come right out of my mouth. Right. But just because I do it that way might mean that you are going to have such a different experience, and it's just as equally as powerful. There are some people who have clear cognizant who come into our programs that literally, it's a clear knowing. So I give them the task, here's the intention, and they come back 5 minutes later. Okay, I got it. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. I didn't smell anything. I didn't taste anything. I didn't feel anything, but I know, right? I'm like, great, that's your gift. Let's honor that. And I feel like there's a lot of, there's a lot of programs out there, and they're all beautiful in their own way. But I really feel like we need to honor the individual soul and how they're going to best bust out of the restrictions and confinement they've experienced in their lifetime. And what does that look like? And so it could be, sexual trauma or childhood trauma, or divorces or emotional abuse or physical abuse. Like, all of those things is such a human experience. Like, we all have hard stuff that has happened in this lifetime. And that's just how we sign up to come into earth. Like, once we come into this understanding of, I signed up for it. The person who abused me in my lifetime is my biggest and greatest teacher that I'll have here, because he said, I love you so much. I'll step into that position to hurt you and harm you, so that you'll learn to have boundaries, so that you'll learn to have forgiveness, so that you'll learn to have patience, or whatever it may be. And that is my greatest teacher. That's the greatest teacher. So once we can start looking at, okay, this is my trauma. These are the people who have provided the traumatic experience. How can I see them as a teacher? And what did I learn? No longer can you suffer and be the victim of that. Now, what does that have to do with star seeds, right? I think this is the where we come in, like we're coming in from a galactic place where they have their own kind of rules and requirements to be on their planets.
Like
Like
their
I
own
don't,
agenda.
right. Well, and I feel like there's not a lot of planets where it's just a vacation. And when there are some. There are some, but guess what? They're boring. they're so boring. There is like no contrast. So you might go hang out there for a year or so, and then you're just like, well, I'm done with that because it's boring. And Earth provides this really interesting space of it can be hard, and I'm going to sign up for what as a soul do I need to learn, and how can that be, how can that unfold as an earthling on this planet Earth, given this current societal, cultural, institutional norms, and how do I want to play in that? Like, I feel like we come in knowing that it's going to be a roller coaster. We know that there's going to be good times and there's going to be struggles. And we get to choose our level of participation. And so, yeah, I come in as a soul that gets really frustrated because I pick some really in-depth lessons. Let's put it that way. I feel like I have come in for some heavy lessons because I needed to learn these things so I could connect with and empathize with the souls here on earth. So I've picked my own story, my own star of the show. Like I've created my play to have those experiences so that I can relate to you. And so I don't think anyone has it easy, right? And so if I'm coming in and I'm scheduling myself for these big, difficult life lessons, then it's very much like, okay, how can I learn them as fast as possible? How can I wake up and remember my own truth of who I am? And how can I share that empowerment with the world? Like, there it is, right? So I have to relearn what love is. I have to relearn what suffering is. I have to relearn all of these different components. And I feel like the more often I'm here on the earth plane, it feels like they can come in a little bit more rapidly. Like I'm not stuck in the space. Like now it's like, oh crap, here we go again. Oh yeah, I see this one coming. Okay, let's just hurry this along and remember it so I can get through it and then I can teach the lesson. And I feel like oftentimes my spiritual work is that I'm getting lessons. I learn them. I turn around and teach about them. I inspire others. And that's kind of the process and the flow. And I just want to go back to like from the very beginning of this conversation about how, you know, oftentimes the star seed comes in feeling very alone. They come in feeling, I want to go home. This planet has been suffering. What am I supposed to do here? My heart aches and breaks because of the level of harm that the planet is experiencing, whether that is all of the plastic in the world or the storms and the global climate change. Like there's all these things happening on the earth. And as a young person, as an indigo child, a crystalline, a young starseed, like it can be very heartbreaking to witness what is happening on the earth and to feel like we don't have any power. And then we grow up and we can start remembering who we are and going, oh yeah, it all comes down to what happens within me is externally reflected in the world. And I just cannot emphasize that enough. And I do. I feel like every time I come on the podcast, I end up in the same spot. Wake up, please wake up. Remember who you are. Do the work. Let's dive into the shadow. Let's help you get you there, because the more we can do that, the better off this planet's going to be. And it will survive. I mean, I think that there's definitely the Earth's survival is hanging in the balance. And it's been there for a while, but um, it's rapidly changing, right? And so we need to step forward and like, let's love ourselves. Let's enjoy what we have. And so, you know, I love community connection. I'm so happy I live in a co-housing community, an intentional community, where when I walked to my car this morning, I had 3 people say hello and greet me in the morning. Like there's things about this life that we get to exemplify and celebrate. And the more we can do that, then that level of gratitude is going to be there too. That's going to balance out the heaviness that's happening in the world.
And then tuning in also, I mean, we're having awareness of all that, but also having the awareness that where we put our energy is what we receive. So kind of like what you were talking about is we create our experience by the thought process we put out, the energy we put out. So it is going to be, you want to travel, go travel. You want the experience of having loving relationships, create that. And so when we are in that bubble of energy, we can create such a beautiful existence here. And knowing that what we're putting forward can be completely contagious to everyone around us, right? And so it really is, when we're looking at ourselves, what can we do? But enjoy your time here as well, because our
Yes.
time is so short. So when we come here, we get to have this earthly experience. And I remember hearing that for the first time, you know, years ago, of we are souls having this human experience. And now this is such a buzz thing. But before, when it was like first said 20 years ago or whenever it was I heard it, it was such a, oh my gosh, yes, I know that. I resonate with that. When I learned about soul contracts, absolutely. So when you're learning different terminology and it resonates, no, that's the truth within you. That's the truth that we all carry and have, right? But we have to get to certain levels of our conscious awareness to understand what those things mean.
You know what that brought up for me, and I'm kind of giggling to myself, is one of my main recruiting factors when I go to these other planetary systems and to encourage them to come to Earth. I'm like, oh, the sex is great here. The orgasms are like no other. Like you're never going to
Yes.
have a reproductive experience quite like on Earth. Like this is the best. Like that is like my recruitment tool, because it's like there's this level of uh there's a level of full experiential, full body bliss that isn't isn't quite like anything else you'll experience anywhere else in the universe. And so yeah, I might have hoodwinked a few few souls to come here, not just talking about like the sex is fantastic. Let's just enjoy
And
that.
then they come and they experience and they're like, Christine, you were right. And and it's so, I think it's us tuning into all of our senses, and definitely orgasm is like at the top of the list, but tuning into all of it: food,
Yeah,
love, touch, connection, seeing the beautiful, everything that we see on our planet is amazing. It's beautiful.
it's
You get out
gorgeous
in
here.
nature, and it's just like the layers, and yeah, it's just the calling and really tuning into our five senses and all of our experiences here.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
uh
noticing those 5 senses really ground us into the present moment,
mhm,
right? That's
absolutely.
what we need. It's like when we are focused on the past or focused on the future, we're in that state of anxiety or depression. And it's like when we can actually hone into, how does my heartbeat feel in this moment? How does my breath feel? What does it smell like when I take an inhale through my nose? What can I touch? What fabric texture is touching my skin? Like when we're fully in the present moment, that mindfulness allows us to be clear. It allows us to come into a neutral zone. And when we're in a neutral zone, we're at least out of the victimhood mode. And neutral is really easy to lean into the gratitude. I'm grateful for the breath. I'm grateful for the smell of the cookies cooking in the kitchen. I'm grateful for the beautiful things that I'm seeing right now in this moment. Right now, I'm looking at Shantel and looking into her gorgeous brown eyes. Like I can be in this state of gratitude, of just being fully present in this moment. And we often forget, there's so much of this forgettingness of the beauty of the present moment and how do we stay in it. And I feel like myself personally, this is a big struggle. And the fact that like I'm naturally more of an anxious person, right? So I'm always thinking about the future because that's where anxiety comes from, right? And so it's pull it back, pull it back. How can I be secure and clear and okay and what is going on? And it all comes back to that present moment. Mhm.
Yeah. It is. And it's not always easy to be in the present moment, but to be mindful of it. Like, I am too
Yes.
much in my future. I am living in
Mhm.
my past. That awareness is going to bring us back to the present. And knowing that everything that we want is literally one vibration away. We just have to
Yes.
create that. What is it that we desire? How do we want to be, right? If we're not feeling happy, feel it for a minute. Give yourself permission to feel your emotions, but then shift that so that you can get into this present moment, so you can have the experience of gratitude, so you can go and live and laugh and love and do the things that we're here to also experience. And so yes, when we're looking on the global events and collective and all that kind of stuff, it can be very heavy and daunting for a lot of people. But when you can shift the perspective and bring it back to what can I just do for myself and my world, because my world will affect your world and so on and so on, that's where changes. And
Yeah.
so I think that's a lot of what we're talking about here today is, we're going to go out and save the whole world. No, but we can do it one person at a time, one conversation at a time, one seed plant at a time. And once we do that, we've done our mission. We're here to do it. And it doesn't mean we have to be standing on the top of the mountain screaming and doing all these things. We're doing it in ourselves. And so, yeah, it brings in a lot of power and a lot of awareness. And I'm very grateful for my experiences. I've gone through a lot in this lifetime. I definitely feel like I was up there like, oh, I'll take a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But through my experiences, because I have that bigger perspective of life now, I see why I've gone through everything I've gone through to pull
Mhm.
me to where I am today. And my
Exactly.
awakening, my main awakening was in 2013, 2012. So, and I see that, like we were talking, that timeline for humanity happened, right? We were all on that trajectory. And here we are, all these years later, we're still in that. And we're collectively doing it. So even if 95% of the world is asleep, they're going to wake up in their time frame. They're going to wake up in the lifetime that they're meant to. Because everything we're learning here is imprinting on our soul. So when we transition and we come back, what we have discovered here in this lifetime will transfer over to our soul blueprint, and we will weave that in as we need to.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a beautiful place to conclude this conversation. So until next time, may you awaken to the whispers of wisdom from within.